The Publius Enigma. Fans believed Pink Floyd hid a secret puzzle in their 1994 album, The Division Bell. An anonymous figure calling themselves Publius appeared on Usenet newsgroups, claiming the band had planted a riddle that could be solved for a grand prize. Publius posted coordinates, astronomical data, and references to ancient Rome, daring listeners to piece the clues together. Fans dissected lyrics, album artwork, and even the timing of guitar solos, while others linked the mystery to Egyptian mythology or NASA mission charts. During live shows, stage lights briefly spelled ENIGMA, fueling the belief that the band was involved. The puzzle climaxed on October 31st, 1994, when Publius promised a revelation at specific coordinates. Fans who gathered there reported seeing a synchronized light display, yet the band's management never confirmed the stunt, and Publius disappeared immediately after. To this day, fans still ask whether they uncovered a genuine puzzle or played along with rock's greatest hoax. Timecube. In 1997, an electrician claimed each day was really 4 days happening at once. Gene Ray launched timecube.com, declaring that every 24-hour period was actually 4 simultaneous rotations, one at each corner of a cube. He accused scientists and teachers of hiding this 4-day truth. Ray's site was filled with all-caps text, crude geometric diagrams, and furious rants against evil linear time. He offered $10,000 to anyone who could disprove his theory and sent threatening emails to professors, demanding they teach it in classrooms. College students sometimes invited him to lecture, turning his appearances into both spectacle and cautionary tale. No scientific proof ever supported his claims, but Ray never relented. He kept the site online until his death in 2015, never admitting it was false or satire. For years, the internet debated not whether the theory was correct, but whether Timecube was madness, parody, or a message no one could truly decode. Heaven's Gate website. In 1997, a cult used the early internet to broadcast their beliefs and left behind a website that still exists today. The Heaven's Gate group, led by Marshall Applewhite, believed that a spacecraft trailing the Hale-Bopp comet would carry their souls to a higher plane. Members used the site to publish lengthy manifestos, coded messages, and instructions for leaving Earth's classroom. Just days before their mass suicide in Rancho Santa Fe, California, they posted final statements warning outsiders and inviting students to join them. The site's stark black background and simple HTML became infamous once the tragedy made global headlines. Unlike most websites from the 1990s, it never disappeared. Former members who survived maintained it, responding to emails from the public and preserving the pages exactly as they were left in 1997. Visitors still wonder, is the site a memorial, a warning, or an ongoing invitation from a group that never fully died? Melissa virus. In March 1999, a single infected Word document brought down corporate email systems worldwide. The Melissa virus, written by New Jersey programmer David L. Smith, spread through Microsoft Outlook by automatically sending itself to the first 50 contacts in a victim's address book. The virus disguised itself as an important document, luring office workers into opening the attachment. Once triggered, it clogged networks with email storms, forcing Microsoft, Intel, and other major companies to shut down mail servers. The FBI called it the fastest-spreading computer virus in history at the time. Smith was arrested within days, sentenced to 20 months in prison, and fined $5,000. But the damage, estimated at $80 million, revealed how vulnerable businesses were to social engineering attacks. Even now, cybersecurity experts debate how such a simple trick spread so far, so fast, in the early internet age. The Publius Remailer. Between 1994 and 1999, a tool called the Publius Remailer allowed users to send emails with complete anonymity and sparked fears of untraceable crime. Built on early encryption networks, the Remailer stripped identifying information from messages and bounced them through multiple servers before delivery. Activists praised it as a breakthrough for free speech in countries with censorship. Journalists used it to communicate with dissidents in regions like China and Eastern Europe, but law enforcement quickly raised alarms. The same system that protected whistleblowers could also enable extortion, harassment, or illegal trade. By the late 1990s, several Remailer servers shut down under pressure, while others were abandoned by operators overwhelmed by abuse. No government ever fully dismantled the network, but its disappearance left behind unanswered questions. How many crimes were hidden in plain sight? And how much truth was buried in anonymous mail that can never be traced? The last broadcast hijacks. The 1990s saw the final wave of analog television hijackings, bizarre intrusions where unknown figures seized local airwaves. Unlike digital signals, analog broadcasts could be overpowered by strong transmitters. Small groups exploited this loophole, interrupting programs with political rants, cryptic images, or strange performances. One case in 1996 disrupted a Florida religious station with a sudden burst of pornographic content. In another, Midwestern stations reported brief flashes of distorted faces and text, never traced to a source. These incidents echoed the famous 1987 Max Headroom hijack in Chicago. But by the 1990s, FCC investigators were more aggressive. As digital broadcasting rolled out in the late 1990s, the opportunities for such hacks vanished. Yet the perpetrators of those last hijacks were never caught. Viewers still ask whether they witnessed random pranks or carefully staged messages meant to vanish into the static of history. Eternal September. In 1993, the internet's culture shifted forever when a flood of new users overwhelmed Usenet, the early discussion network. Before then, newcomers typically arrived each September as universities connected students to the system, and seasoned users patiently taught them etiquette. That cycle broke when America Online, AOL, gave its millions of subscribers permanent Usenet access. Instead of a yearly wave of students, a constant flood of inexperienced users arrived. They ignored established customs, posted off-topic content, and fueled endless arguments. Veterans quickly realized the learning curve would never end. The phrase "eternal September" was coined to describe this permanent state of disruption. Usenet never regained its old culture, and the term now symbolizes the moment when the internet became truly mainstream, and when online order gave way to permanent chaos. The mystery that lingers is whether digital communities can ever adapt once a flood of outsiders changes the rules forever. Internet black holes / lost pages. By the mid-1990s, researchers noticed strange gaps in the fabric of the web, sites that should exist but vanished without explanation. These black holes often showed up as dead links, where directories pointed to missing servers or files that no longer resolved. Unlike today's routine 404 errors, some were harder to explain. Entire university projects disappeared without backup. Corporate research sites were erased overnight, and archives of early chat boards were wiped beyond recovery. In a few cases, DNS records, the system that maps web addresses, redirected visitors to blank or impossible locations. Technologists called them internet black holes, a term borrowed from astronomy to describe the way information seemed to collapse into nothing. While some losses were due to server failures or poor maintenance, others had no clear cause. Users still debate whether the missing data was simply negligence or whether some early knowledge was deliberately erased from the net. Heaven's Gate email replies. After the Heaven's Gate mass suicide in March 1997, outsiders were stunned to find the cult's website still active, and even more shocked when emails sent to its listed address received replies. Two surviving members, known only by aliases, maintained the site and answered curious messages from the public. The replies often echoed the same doctrines written by leader Marshall Applewhite, references to graduation from Earth, spacecraft salvation, and warnings about humanity's fate. Some correspondents reported long exchanges, while others received only brief confirmations that the group's work was continuing. These emails persisted into the late 1990s, blurring the line between memorial and ongoing recruitment. Law enforcement monitored the activity but found no violations. To this day, unanswered questions remain. Were the replies sincere continuation of the cult's beliefs or careful role-playing meant to preserve its myth? The Pubnet anomalies. In the late 1990s, internet users began whispering about a hidden network called Pubnet that supposedly ran parallel to the public web. Unlike the familiar pages indexed by early search engines, Pubnet was said to contain fragments of documents, unfinished research, and corrupted files that surfaced unpredictably. Reports described odd URL strings leading to blank pages with partial government memos, or glitching images that disappeared on refresh. Some theorized these were the result of caching errors, when servers stored ghost copies of files, while others insisted Pubnet represented a shadow layer of the internet itself. No technical proof ever confirmed Pubnet's existence, and skeptics argued it was just a mix of misconfigured servers and urban legend. Yet its scattered anomalies left behind one enduring mystery: how much of the early web slipped through cracks we no longer understand, and whether some pages were meant never to be found. The Smiley face serial hoax. In the late 1990s, internet forums and early email chains spread warnings about a supposed smiley face killer, leaving graffiti near drowning victims across the Midwest. Amateur investigators claimed dozens of young men found dead in rivers had been murdered, not accidentally drowned, and that spray-painted smiley faces near some sites were the killer's calling card. The story spread rapidly online, amplified fueled by sensational posts and forwarded messages. Usenet groups circulated maps linking cases in different states, and conspiracy-minded websites cataloged supposed patterns. Police departments acknowledged some graffiti existed, but denied any connection between the deaths, citing lack of evidence. Later, criminologists labeled the phenomenon a hoax, born from confirmation bias, the tendency to see patterns where none exist. Yet because of the internet's role in spreading the theory, the smiley face story became one of the first viral true crime scares of the digital age. The open question remains: was it only hysteria, or did scattered clues point to something real that authorities dismissed too quickly?
Usenet R9 drops. During the 1990s, cryptic text files labeled R9 began appearing in Usenet newsgroups without explanation. The drops contained strings of code, mathematical formulas, and occasional fragments of English phrases like signal breach or phase complete. Posters never identified themselves, and the messages vanished as quickly as they appeared. Some believed the R9 files were test runs for new encryption methods. Others speculated they were leaked intelligence signals or fragments of private communication accidentally routed onto public servers. The randomness of where they appeared, from science forums to hobbyist groups, only deepened the mystery. Attempts to trace their origin failed, since Usenet servers routinely expired post after weeks, leaving only partial archives. By the end of the decade, the R9 drops stopped entirely. To this day, no one knows whether they were meaningless noise or the digital fingerprints of a project never meant for public eyes. The AOL Phantom Room. In the mid-1990s, AOL users reported stumbling into a chat room that shouldn't exist. Dubbed the Phantom Room, it appeared briefly in the chat directory with no description. Those who entered described seeing scrambled usernames, nonsensical text, and automated messages repeating fragments of earlier conversations. Attempts to rejoin usually failed. The room disappeared from the directory minutes later. Some users claimed it reappeared at random times, always unstable, with glitches that suggested corrupted server code. Others believed it was an intentional test space for AOL engineers, accidentally left accessible. No official explanation was ever given, and AOL never confirmed the room's purpose. For members of early online culture, the Phantom Room became a digital ghost story. Was it simply a software bug, or a hidden portal into AOL's internal systems that was never meant for public view? Mosaic ghost pages. When the Mosaic browser popularized the World Wide Web in the mid-1990s, users began encountering ghost pages, websites that appeared briefly but could not be revisited. These pages often displayed fragments of text or half-rendered images, then vanished on refresh. Some ghost pages contained what looked like draft versions of real sites, including news outlets and university servers. Others were completely untraceable, with URLs that led nowhere in subsequent attempts. The effect was often blamed on server-side caching glitches, where temporary data stored in memory surfaced by mistake. Yet a few ghost pages were stranger. Screenshots preserved snippets of documents that never matched any known original. Collectors of early web ephemera still debate whether these anomalies were purely technical accidents, or signs that forgotten layers of the web briefly leaked into public view. The question lingers: how many pages from the early internet existed only for a single accidental glimpse? The Giferati hoaxes. In the late 1990s, a group of pranksters calling themselves the Giferati spread doctored animations across forums and early image boards. These GIFs showed impossible scenes, burning buildings that never existed, corporate logos morphing into secret symbols, or news footage altered to include hidden figures. Because GIFs were easy to share and hard to verify in the dial-up era, many viewers accepted them as authentic. Some were passed along as proof of conspiracies, while others were mistaken for leaked advertising campaigns. A few even reached mainstream media before being exposed as fakes. Despite attempts to trace the hoaxers, their identities were never confirmed. The Giferati disappeared by 2000, leaving only corrupted archives and second-hand accounts. Their creations demonstrated how simple image loops could blur truth and fiction online, and left one question unresolved: how many other viral sightings of the 1990s were really the Giferati at work? The Green Children emails. In the 1990s, email lists revived a centuries-old legend, the Green Children of Woolpit. Two medieval siblings said to appear mysteriously with green skin. Messages circulated claiming that modern descendants of the children were contacting researchers through anonymous email accounts. The emails mixed folklore with strange personal testimony, describing underground villages, unusual diets, and warnings of hidden histories. Some even included coordinates that pointed to rural sites in England and Spain, though no physical evidence was found there. Linguists and folklorists dismissed the messages as an elaborate role-playing project, but no sender was identified. The emails stopped as suddenly as they began, leaving unanswered whether it was a collaborative hoax, a viral storytelling experiment, or a deliberate attempt to blur the line between medieval myth and digital reality.
Melissa, successor, worms. After the Melissa virus struck in March 1999, security experts braced for copycats, and they came almost immediately. New worms appeared that borrowed Melissa's strategy of spreading through email attachments, but added stronger automation. Variants like Papa, Melly, and Quijibo circulated within weeks, each exploiting Microsoft Outlook's address book to multiply. Unlike Melissa, which relied on tricking users to open a Word document, these successors refined their payloads. Some disabled antivirus software, while others tried to harvest passwords or corrupt files. Corporate IT teams, already reeling from Melissa, faced a constant wave of infections throughout the summer of 1999. Many authors were never caught, and investigators suspected multiple independent programmers were racing to outdo one another. The worms caused tens of millions in additional damages, proving that Melissa was not a one-off event, but the spark for an entire era of email-borne cyber attacks. The mystery that lingered was not how they spread, but who wrote them, and why so many vanished without trace. The Max Headroom carryover. A decade after Chicago's infamous 1987 Max Headroom hijack, echoes of it resurfaced online in the 1990s. Forum users reported receiving corrupted video files that featured brief flashes of the same rubber-masked figure spliced into unrelated footage. Some appeared in early file-sharing networks, while others circulated on obscure Usenet groups. The clips were short, often only a few seconds, and usually degraded in quality. In some cases, they included distorted audio, repeating phrases from the original hijack, such as "catch the wave." No one ever claimed responsibility, and the files never led to an identifiable source. Whether these clips were fan-made homages, leaked evidence from the original hijackers, or deliberate attempts to reignite the mystery was never proven. For many early web users, the fragments were unsettling proof that the Max Headroom prank still cast a shadow over digital culture. The unanswered question remains: were these just copycats, or signs that the original culprits never really stopped? The Smudged Man GIF. In the late 1990s, a looping GIF began appearing on forums and personal websites, showing a distorted human figure with blurred facial features. Dubbed the Smudged Man, it depicted a tall silhouette walking toward the viewer before glitching into static. The image had no clear source file, and each copy seemed slightly different, as though it degraded with every repost. Some users claimed the GIF embedded hidden frames, flashes of numbers, words, or locations, visible only when slowed down. Others insisted that attempting to download or edit the file caused crashes or corrupted hard drives. Despite widespread circulation, no original creator was identified. Archivists later suggested it was a corrupted render from early animation software, but no program perfectly matched its output. To this day, the Smudged Man remains an unsolved artifact of the early web, leaving viewers to ask whether it was only a technical accident or something crafted to unsettle by design. The Publius Manifestos. In the late 1990s, anonymous documents signed Publius began circulating outside of the Pink Floyd Enigma posts. These manifestos appeared on cryptography mailing lists and personal web pages, filled with references to censorship, digital freedom, and coded language that echoed the original riddle. Some manifestos warned about surveillance, while others hinted at hidden knowledge embedded within online culture. They drew attention because the pseudonym matched the still unresolved Enigma mystery, though no link was ever proven. The timing, years after the first Publius post disappeared, fueled speculation that the same figure had returned. The manifestos stopped abruptly by 1999, leaving only scattered archives. Scholars of internet history still debate whether they were genuine political statements, elaborate extensions of the Pink Floyd puzzle, or unrelated writers borrowing a name already steeped in mystery. The final question remains: was Publius ever one voice at all, or a mask anyone could wear to keep the enigma alive?